Quiet Connection is proud to be affiliated with the Blue Dot Project through Postpartum Support International. As an ambassador, I am dedicated to promoting perinatal mental health awareness, spreading the blue dot as a symbol of support and solidarity, and ending the stigma and shame. The blue dot is a universal symbol for perinatal mental health and is owned by the community. That means you. Anyone can use it. You'll notice a blue dot on all of Quiet Connection's social media accounts. To learn more, visit thebluedotproject.org. Welcome to Quiet Connection, a podcast dedicated to ending the stigma surrounding perinatal mental health. I'm Chelsea. Today I'm joined by Anne, whose journey from NICU motherhood to healing and hope is filled with wisdom, warmth, and what she calls 5-minute magic. We're talking about the messy middle, the lessons that come with grace, and the small steps that change everything. Here's Anne. Hello. Today I'm here with Anne. Anne, how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, I know. You have a big smile this morning. You've got the energy that I need in my life right now. So I'm really excited to be able to chat with you today.
Thank you.
I will dive right in. I would love it if you could introduce yourself to my listeners and let us know who you were before you were a parent.
Oh, before I was a parent, I've always loved reading books and eating chocolate. And
Oh,
I have always loved things that make us laugh, things that make us connect with people, always been really outgoing and cheerful. And then we had anxiety and depression, and it totally flipped my lid about a lot of things. Was not expecting it, kind of blindsided, and just anyway. So that was my first journey into motherhood, and in those years between like 18 and 25, and now we're 25 years beyond that, and I'm watching my children with everything that's happened to me, hopefully navigate better and faster than I did all of that's happening, right? And I think it's just tricky for families and people in general to navigate everything and try to figure out which end is up sometimes, because um, sometimes things just hit us out of the blue that we didn't plan on. But anyway, so I still like those things. Great. My husband calls it, oh, and that's the cheesy Hallmark endings. I know, I like happy endings. I like things to work out.
what's
And
wrong
in the
with
middle, there's a
that?
mess, and it's always the mess. It's kind of like, oh, okay, never mind. Are we sure we want to do the mess? But anyway, so that's me in a nutshell. Books, movies, not real coordinated physically for sports and things, but love watching it if my kids are involved or if we're trying to do something as a family. Yeah, love it.
I love that. Books and chocolate, I think, are a lot of our love languages. Like that, put me with a good book and some chocolate, maybe some trail mix with
Yeah,
chocolate.
there you
And,
go. Then we
add
need to be a little more
protein
healthy.
in there.
Let's throw the
No,
trail mix in there.
Just add a little bit of protein for me. But
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
oh, I love it. I love it so much. And you already took us right into where we're headed today. We're gonna talk about your journey to and through parenting. And one of the questions that I like to ask all of my guests is, did you always see yourself as a parent? Did you always envision that for your life?
Yeah, I remember being a little 4 and 5-year-old girl and just, drawing the pictures of the princess and the happily ever after house, and the usually looked like a huge castle at the time, or um, so I think I've always thought that would be my main role in life, but then I really had uninformed ideas about what that would look like. I thought it was hot cookies every day after school when the kids got home, and everybody's always calm, nothing ever happens. There's never any mess, right? But even in the
Yeah.
Hallmark movies, there's a mess in the middle. I think it's just hilarious how differently life turned out than what I thought it was going to be. And probably true for 98% of people, right? We think this
Yeah.
this is our path and our recipe, and then it goes whoop, and it turns out awesome, but like completely different than you were heading toward,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, well, and I mean, that highlights something that so many parents say. Like, you have this idea of what motherhood and what parenthood is gonna look like, and it is that Hallmark for a lot of people, it's that Hallmark vision, right? Like, it's all I can think of when we talk about Hallmark movies is those Christmas
yeah.
movies.
Right, and
But
they have a mess, and then it ends up really awesome in the
yeah,
last 2 or 3 minutes, and you go, "Yep, okay, we're good now."
yes,
No.
but I love that you highlight the messy middle, because yes, like, it can turn out very differently than you thought it would, but and I'm trying so hard to change my language on this, and it can also be one of the most beautiful experiences in terms of in the long haul, in
Yeah,
retrospect,
yeah,
it can be
right.
one of the most transformative experiences that you go through.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
let's go there. Walk me through when you decided you had your pictures, your fairy tale
yeah,
pictures,
yeah,
when you decided you wanted to bring those pictures to life, what was that
um,
like?
yeah, I met the love of my life, thought we were in for the happily ever after, and had our first baby a year later. She came early, and
Mm,
that threw me totally out of my I am a planner, or I was. I mean, I am starting to be a reformed planner, to plan not to have a plan, but kind of have a general idea of how I want things to go, but then be flexible, like they say. How flexible can we be about the outcome and what's happening? Anyway, and so when she was born early, all of a sudden my very planned out, this is what we do every day thing kind of went out the window, because it was revolving around, we're in the hospital now. I'm not getting any sleep. Self care isn't even a thing. And the combination of, I think that not everyone, but I think a lot of our hormones get really messed up when we don't sleep, even just for a
yeah,
couple of weeks or a few days, right? And so then we're not even in our best thinking and feeling and all the things, and we don't realize. I mean, I didn't at the time. My kids are better at it than I am because they've watched, and I've, tried to help them learn to do better. But self-care wasn't a thing. I didn't know how to take time for myself to just breathe, like actually have a minute to, here we are. Whew. Um,
yeah,
And there were lots and lots of feedings, lots and lots of stuff with doctors and nurses and people. And I just, all of my happily ever after kind of went, oh my word, what are we doing? This is an alternate reality. I'd watch everyone walking by outside the hospital window and I'm in there figuring out with an unknown endpoint. Like, when do we actually get to go to normal newborn life? And
yeah,
just not even really understanding what anxiety and depression are at the time, like 20 years, 25 years ago when she was born.
yeah,
Now I think there are tons of resources for young families, and lots of groups and support and people to talk to and collaborate with and ask questions of. But I just thought, my gosh, I don't know anyone that's quite gone through this quite like this. So I felt very alone, felt very um, overwhelmed, just a feeling of overwhelm. And I don't even know what to do about this. And but then one of the nurses at the hospital was very helpful. She said, you're probably actually going through a mourning process. You're mourning what you thought was going to be happening versus what actually is happening right now. And that was helpful just for me to give myself some grace, I guess, at the time,
yeah,
and realize that, my feelings and everything that was happening, all the hormones that change right during all of that change, especially maybe with your first one. But we just, we didn't know what we didn't know. I think that happens in money, relationships, health. We don't know what we don't know. So we're not even sure what to do to get it figured out.
Yeah,
Over time.
absolutely. And and you're saying this was 25 years ago, so it was
Yeah.
like the end of the '90s, the early 2000s.
Right.
Like, this is not the age of Instagram. This is not the age of
Not internet,
Facebook
not right,
support group. I mean, there we had internet, but, like, no, we weren't all connecting in the ways that we're connecting now, and
right.
to find someone else who might have shared a similar experience would have been a lot more difficult. Do you wanna talk a little bit about what led to this? So she was early.
She was.
Did she just decide it was time to come? Were there some complications? Like,
Yeah.
what resulted in your NICU stay?
Um, she was early enough that she just didn't know how to suck and eat. So everything I thought about breastfeeding, about how we were going to cooperate as a mom and daughter and help her grow and thrive, changed because all of a sudden we were like, she would turn blue if we tried to
Mm,
be breastfeeding. She'd run out of air, and even if she wasn't getting enough nutrition to grow well. So then I'm taking it personally. Now as a grandma, I don't. I'm like, well, what can we do and how do we work with this? And when this happens for my children, but at the time I was taking it very personally and thinking of myself as a failure. And obviously in the postpartum journey and trying to, you know, blaming yourself and feeling like you're a personal failure and it's all your fault and all those things, those are not the kinds of thoughts that are going to help you navigate very well and stay in
no.
the boat and function and help get everything figured out. And anyway, so I think life is what happens when we're making other plans, sort of, as they say. And it was now looking back, it took some rough edges off of me. I had to become a different person and not be so focused on my plan and we're going to do this and these things and the warm cookies after school and all those things, We just had to yeah, it had to be different than I expected.
Yeah, and you touch on some really impactful things. Also, the fact when you keep saying warm cookies after school, I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, I think every child wishes that
I
too. Like,
know.
not only every I know that's such a, like, cliche, like,
Yeah.
of just having it ready, but I think every kid would just love that, right? Like, my kids would for sure. But the the points that you touched on that I think are recurring themes in so many families that I talk to, NICU or not, is the feelings of guilt and of shame and blame, right?
Right.
Like, when the plan doesn't go the way you thought it was gonna go, like, "Well, it must be something I did,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I
I'm not
must have done."
enough. I messed
Exactly.
up something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you touched on, mental health struggles. Did you start noticing that while you were in your NICU journey, or was that once you got home and were out of that environment?
Mostly after we got home, then I felt like it was all on me. There wasn't a
Mhm.
nurse to help us, and there wasn't there, the support was different. And of course, my husband at the time was going to school and working. So he literally had enough time to sleep and eat and, you know,
Yeah, and
uh,
function.
uh, and and I learned a lot from that. Like I said, looking back, now, I would definitely do things differently, like take care of myself, and I do remember, bless her heart, a neighbor that had gone through that same NICU experience and orienting to all of that, and she just said, "And you're probably gonna need to call me. One of the days you're going to be overwhelmed, exhausted, and beyond belief. You just need somebody to hold the baby for a few minutes while you catch your breath." And I did do that. And she came over. And of course, things like that, your breaking point usually happens at night or in the weekends when there's not
Mhm.
doctors and other people and people are not awake. But I trusted her enough that I called her at 4 in the morning one morning, and I'm like, okay, I've hit that point. Can you just come over here for just a second, give the baby a bottle and let me anyway, And I think she was there for 15 or 20 minutes, but I just was so grateful, right? That, definitely helpful to have other people around you, even just one, but,
Yeah.
as many as we can find to help understand and support and not judge. Because I was at my wit's end. I think by then the baby had been crying all night, probably because she was hungry. I'm pretty sure we didn't have enough milk for her, breast milk, and the bottles and all the things. I just it and I think looking back, I would have been more kind to myself about, I am good enough. It's not my fault. We're here in this situation. What do we need to do to help get this worked out now? You know?
Yeah. I think it's I think it's probably for a lot of us, it's easy to look in retrospect, right? And, like, give ourselves the grace that we needed back then.
Back then.
Um, but I love that you had that neighbor that recognized that was like, "You're gonna need me at some point, and it's okay." I
I know.
also I also love that you did make that call at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Like,
Yeah.
many of us would be like, "Well, it's 4 a.m., she's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
sleeping," right?
yeah,
But you did it because you needed it,
yeah,
and she did come, and I that's
mm,
just huge. That, like, warms my heart to hear.
yeah. She
Those
was
are the
amazing.
people that we need in our corner.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about just mental health in general. You had said you'd always sort of been a pretty positive person, pretty outgoing person. Did you have any sort of background knowledge in things like depression or anxiety or anything like that?
No, no, I don't
No.
even know if we really talked about it much back then. Now it's much more open. There's a lot of different, nutrition, sleep, all the things that we've all learned in the last 25 years. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And, um, as we had our daughter and went into the parenting journey, um, I did not know how to take care of myself and take care of those little ones,
Yeah.
her brothers that came along after her. And literally, I think now I'm looking at it and going, yeah, I it would have gone so much better for them and for me had I followed that oxygen mask principle.
Uh-huh.
Let's put my own oxygen mask on just for a second so I can get my bearings, and then we'll handle whatever's come up during the day. Because life with a family isn't necessarily always like that Hallmark movie. It's
No.
we
It
had
can be,
we
but
we our first other adventure beyond parenting was when there were 3 little ones under 3 and my husband got laid off. And so all of a sudden our money, everything that was supporting the family was gone, and jobs were not available, and we went, "Oh my word, what are we doing?" Anyway, so that started a whole different journey of things I didn't know that I didn't know and didn't plan on. It worked out, but it definitely was a real eye opener that kind of blindsided me, and I don't know that I here in my anxiety going, "Oh my word, ah." Um, I don't know that I showed up as well as I could have for our kids and everything that we were all figuring out as a family. Um, we learned a ton. You always learn a ton from things that don't go like that old saying about when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. You do.
yeah.
I mean, we do figure out how to make lemonade somehow, right? But
Yeah.
the process
Sometimes
of
that
it was,
lemonade is sour.
yeah,
Like,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is not where I thought I would be right now, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that you keep saying too that, like, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah,
And I think that is something that I'm gonna, like, add to my bank of little mantras, like, "I didn't know what I didn't know, and I don't know what I don't know." I think that can be a really powerful tool for new parents because, like you said, when you're feeling that shame and that guilt and that blame, taking a pause and being like, "I don't know what I don't know. This is new.
yeah,
I've never done this before, and this baby's never done this before, and we
yeah.
don't know what we don't know."
And it's okay to ask for help. I read a book, recently, and they just said that, asking for help shows our strength.
Yes.
It's not a weakness to just be like, "Man, I don't know. I need some help." Right?
Well, that was gonna be my next sort of question. It does sort of vary for me, the responses that I get about this, like, if you look at the different generations, but, like, when you were going through that and when you were struggling with those feelings of depression and anxiety,
Yeah.
were you able to find any sort of relief? Was there any, like, did you seek out any support from family or friends? Did you talk to a doctor, or did you kinda soldier through it?
Yeah, we did find a lot of resources, probably when I started asking questions and looking for things, right?
Yeah.
The internet started becoming more available. I had a doctor, for mental health doctor, recommend a book called The Feeling Good Handbook that gave me a place to write down, boy, this triggered me today. I'm really not handling that very well. And a place to kind of go through processes in between appointments with him and then talk about it with him at the next appointment. That only took a couple of months, but it gave me a lot of tools in the toolbox for later when things would come up when I didn't necessarily have a doctor in my back pocket. That was a helpful book. And then we found a book called Limitless that helped me really radically change the I'm not good enough and always make mistakes and I always do this and I always, the never and always that we sometimes loop ourselves in mentally when we're not sure how to handle a situation. It's always hard. This always happens. It's, it just taught me a lot there, right? Even in the appendix, I guess I did the Hallmark-movie thing about the Limitless book. I went to the back first and figured out what I wanted to learn and how am I going to think about myself so that I don't have to be in that I'm not good enough space anymore. And that actually revolutionized how I showed up as a parent, how I showed up about money, how I showed up about my health. Um, I'm not yet, the word yet is really
Mhm.
powerful to me. I'm not yet where I want to be on some things, but I will be. I am creating that reality of what I want for my finances, for my health, for our family. And I think that just it became a place of grace that I could say, well, they're not yet either where they want to be, but they are doing the best they can and it is good enough right now. My best is good enough. I'm good enough. There's a lot to be said for what we tell ourselves about ourselves
Yeah.
and how that helps us show up for other people when they're in the middle of their mess too, right? Because we're not circling around in I'm not good enough. This isn't ever going to work out. And
Yeah,
I'm grateful for that.
I've heard this saying, and it's so hard to do, but, like, speak to yourself like you'd speak to your best friend,
You're right.
right? Like,
You're right.
and that's so hard to do, but I think just like you were saying, like, tools in the toolbox, it takes
Yeah.
practice, and then
Yes.
you have it in your toolbox.
Right.
How old were your kids when you started seeing these shifts in yourself? When you started, like, reading the books and finally being like, "Oh, okay. Okay, this isn't my
Um,
fault."
some of them when they were very small,
Yeah.
limited amount of time to figure that out and put my oxygen mask on while I was taking care of them in those early years. But then as they got into teenage years and they were at school or other things, I did have a little bit more time and Limitless itself came into my life only maybe 5 years ago. So we're all still on
Wow.
that learning journey, right? And that's that one, my daughter and all of our children would say that was the big breaking point where mom totally became who she'd always thought she could be as far as how she feels about herself and how she shows up for us and I'm grateful for that. In fact, as you said, practicing and rehearsing on my phone, I literally have the new beliefs that I want to feel about myself and other people. We're all good enough. We're doing our best. All of those things are recorded in a little voice memo on here that I can listen to when I can feel myself getting a little agitated or worried so they always would laugh because honestly, they'd say, "Wow, mom is so outgoing and friendly and kind to everyone else outside the family, but when she's at home, she's a mess." For until they were in their teenage years and I started figuring that out to put that in my, just give myself that positive feedback all the time. You know, we're not yet where we want to be, but we are. The recipe is getting there, and it's going to be ready at the right time when we need it.
Yeah. I also love that I don't know if you came up with it on your own or if it was from something that you read, but recording those voice notes, like hearing it in your own voice, it is talking to yourself like you would talk to a best friend, right? Like it's
It
what you
is.
need to hear
That's
and
what
it's in your
reminded
own
me
voice.
when you said that. I'm like, well, actually,
Yeah.
it is.
That is an amazing tool. Like listeners and myself, use your voice notes app, guys. Like
Or
that's the
whatever
best
you have available that
or
you can
whatever. Yeah,
hear it
that's
hear often. I mean, I think in a way, mental health is like physical health. We don't just eat once a week and expect that our body will take care of itself the rest of the
yeah.
day, right? And if we're exercising, exercising a little bit every day and eating a little bit every day, and I feel like that for mental health in general too. Like it's going to do a lot better if we just are regularly adding in it's I call it 5-minute magic. Like, what can we do
Oh, I
in
love
2 or
that.
3 minutes that will create a little twist, a little key that opens up our possibilities of the next few minutes, right?
Yeah, I love that analogy. I love that. I keep saying that. I love that.
Good, I'm glad it's
Oh,
helpful. I
no,
think you're
it
just
is.
my toolbox of Anne taking care of Anne and hopefully providing some value to help other people too.
Well, and I think that's what's so beautiful about opportunities like this to connect, right, as parents, because what works for one person may not work for another person, but if you don't try, and like so many of the things that you've said, like, "Oh, I haven't tried that before. I haven't thought of that before." It's things to try, and
Right.
there's nothing to lose
And
from
you're not
trying these
locked into
things.
it. You might find a different way to,
Right,
whatever.
but you don't know what you don't know, and
Right.
so yeah, so I think it's so valuable to hear things like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, what kinds of do you have conversations with your kids about mental health?
Yes, we do. I do
Yeah.
because of everything that I had gone through and how well I didn't handle what I
Mm.
didn't know. I figure if obviously as young adults they want to be able to do life the way they want to, and but so I it's not a long lecture but a few little tips that I can be like, well, have you thought about, and then they can choose to do it or not, like you said, like here's just a few options you might consider. One thing that really helped me, and I didn't even realize it at the time, I think I was 15, grandpa sat me down on the couch and he said, can't is not in my dictionary. I'm like, yes, it is. It's between B and D. It's a C. It's can't. And he's like, no. And instead of telling myself I can't have something or do something or, you know, I say, how can I improve my mental health? How can I improve my financial health? How can I improve my relationship with this person? Or, you know, I instead of saying can't, he would say, how can I? And I at 15, I'm sure it didn't sink in very far. Honestly. Like
I
I
don't
mean,
know how much is
it took me
sticking
a while to
around.
be like, what, grandma?
Eh,
What are we doing? Anyway, and so then, as I got into my 30s and we had the young children and me trying to balance their lives and their demands with me taking care of me, how can I carve out 2 minutes? How can I take care of this thing financially that's worrying me? How can I anyway, so I just have found a lot of help with that advice from grandpa too.
I love that, grandpa. That is perfect grandpa wisdom
Yeah,
right
I know,
there,
right?
right? We like to say that too. We don't like to talk like not we don't like to talk about can't, but like can't not being like I can try or how can I? Like that's as a former educator and
Right.
that whole like growth mindset thing, like that resonates with me for sure. Like, okay, so how can I?
How can I have that thing happen? And yeah.
Yeah. I also think that it's so great that you have been open with your kids about mental health because like you said, like you were blindsided at the time and you
It was.
learned from those experiences. You mentioned briefly earlier you are a grandma.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the experience like, or how does that differ for you? How does being a grandmother
Oh,
feel
very
different
good.
from being a mother?
It's, I think, the best of both worlds, really. You can just love on those kids and then send them home to their mom and dad, as they say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not my day-to-day responsibility, but I can just thoroughly enjoy time with them and making memories. Um, Grandma life is probably more like the hot cookies after lunch life that I thought. I was,
Yeah.
you know,
That's the Hallmark movie.
yeah, that's the um and of course, you have to keep in mind that they aren't your kids, so I have to follow whatever family rules and discipline and how they operate their what their parents have asked, how they do it in their family. But it's a great trade-off. I'm Yeah, grandma life is the best. It's
Yeah.
all the fun without a lot of the mess.
Yeah, that's
The
I think a lot of grandparents say that. I know, like, obviously, like, my parents and my in-laws, when they take my kids, I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," like, "They're through the roof today," and they're always like, "Yeah, but I'm only with them for a little while," so
Yeah, I can yeah, and that
yeah.
might be how my 4 AM friend felt. She was almost into the grandma part of her life too, and so coming over to help me even at 4 AM for 15 or 20 minutes wasn't I mean, it was a big deal to me, and it was life-changing just to okay, for a
Yeah.
minute. But for her, you know, maybe that wasn't as big of a I don't know that she thought much about it. She was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Great. Glad you asked.
Right, she's
Here we
like, "I can
go."
just
Right?
be there. I'm
But it
here."
was life-changing for me, and in that way, maybe that's what it can be when I have the kids for just a little while they go and have some time or do what they're doing, right?
Yeah, for sure, you're giving them that space to put the mask on first, right?
Yeah.
Um, and again, I don't know how many grandkids you have or who has the grandkids, but did any of your kids experience any postpartum mental health issues?
It's possible that some of the daughters-in-law have, but again, they handled it so much differently and better than self-care is a thing. They're
Yeah.
out taking classes, learning things, enjoying some time, and I think that all of my children, whether they have kids or don't, they're much better at tag teaming
Mhm.
then I think maybe I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing because I think the generation before me had even less father involvement. They just come home from work and kinda, "Huh," and the mother takes care of all of it, right? And
Yeah.
our kids and your generation, I don't think that's the general pattern. I think you
Mm-mm.
are navigating so much better and faster, and in some ways, I'm wondering, it would be interesting to find out, but I think that takes care of some of those symptoms of postpartum. I mean, and because people talk about it more, you're more likely to go, "Yeah, I'm not feeling like myself. I should go get some help. I should talk to the doctor. I should go, go try some vitamins or some medicine or something." All the different things that are available now
Yeah.
that so in other words, for my kids, if they have, it's been very short-lived because they were more willing to be like, "Oh, I we need to figure this out." And
Well, and
and not
I think
not
that speaks to you and the example that you set as you grew in your parenting journey too.
yeah.
Because yes, I think it is a generational thing. I think we're the generation before me and this generation or the generation after me are doing things a little bit differently because we have access to more information, we have access to more resources, but also in your case, you set that example of I am going to step into my, as they're saying, the self-care era, right? Like I am going to take care of me. I am going to talk about mental health. I am going to set my kids up for success that way. So if they did experience those things, they just felt safe enough
Yeah.
to
Would be like, "Okay, we gotta go figure this out."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't think I can't take any credit. I think they literally just they're just very smart, beautiful people, and I think they just in general felt supported from all the different resources that were available to them, and I am gonna take care of my physical health. I am gonna take care of my spiritual health and mental health even as a young parent.
Mhm.
Even while I'm like, to me, those early years where I'm swimming as hard as I can swim and I'm still drowning, right?
Yeah.
And as I learned over the like, when they got to be 10, 11, 12, I finally started figuring out self-care better, and I think it's a blessing that there's so many more resources like what you're offering here, as well as other things that people can tap into just to learn and be like, "Yeah, I don't know what I don't know, and maybe someone will have an idea that will help me."
Yeah, or even just not feeling alone, just feeling seen.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of
Like someone understands and
yes,
it's
that's our
okay.
whole goal, right?
Yeah,
Is
it's okay
that
to not be
connection.
okay.
Yeah,
And
that's the whole mental health buzzword or buzz phrase. It's okay to not
right
be
now.
okay. And it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but it's also okay to want to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of that feels like a theme for you. Like you were like, okay, this isn't where I wanted to be. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. But you took steps to get you on a path and a trajectory that you
Yeah.
did
That
want to
was
be on.
yeah.
So you talked a little bit about in the beginning when I was like, what fills your cup? What do you like to do for self-care? So reading and chocolate and
Yeah.
movies.
Yep.
But what were the most impactful forms of self-care for you when you started to come out of that fog? What were the things that made the most difference?
Yeah, the things that you've mentioned,
Yeah?
being around groups of people that were also working things out, just feeling like what I was feeling was normal and that someone could understand and relate. Uh, and then, of course, I think there's church support groups. There's all kinds of different groups of people that have common interests with you that make it fun. This week, I have a book club group, and we all love books, but we have so much fun laughing that we hardly ever talk about the book we read, right? So,
I love
there's just so many, so I think part of that for me, actually, a lot of it was visual, but then it started becoming what can I listen to right now, which is probably why we came across the putting it in our phone and let's repeat that over and over until it becomes how we normally think about anything, right?
yeah.
Because it's like riding a bike, I think. Like you said, we're practicing, and at first we feel like really, oh, we're going to fall off, and about anything, money, health, mental health, and then it just kind of becomes second nature, becomes easier to just carry on the course, right? I
Yeah.
laugh in one sense, and this is when I got married and was in that, oh, hot cookies after school part of my life before everything happened different. Um,
Yeah.
my mother-in-law is an excellent cook and she's amazing and she can do it all in 25 minutes and you have this amazing meal already ready. And it would take
Wow.
me a long time to do that same amount of meal preparation. And I remember asking my husband at the time, like, how does she do that? And he's like, well, she's been making, you know, creating food and cooking for 20 more years than you, Anne. And I'm like, okay, well, there is that, right? She had
Yeah.
way more practice. And so I think maybe that's the fun part of where I'm at now. I've had way more practice on self care and mental health and all the things that are working well. I honestly really don't have that my kids growing up are like, "Yeah, mom's just awesome and fun for everyone else, but when she's at home, she's like, ah." And now it's not really like that. Now it's more like, "Okay, I'm the same whether I'm out in public or just by ourselves at home as a family." And I'm grateful for that. That especially for
Yeah.
the younger kids, that they get the new improved version of Anne that's been practicing more on
Yeah.
on the mental health recipe of how, I need these ingredients, and this is how we're gonna create the best day. Sadly, well, true, I do think that adults create who the weather, the climate in the family is created a lot by the mental health of the parents,
Mhm.
a man or a woman, but whoever's around the children more, whatever they're working with on their own mental health, that will have an impact on how well the children figure out how to do
Navigate
everything,
their own
right?
mental health and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that's very profound and, but something that seems like almost obvious in a way, but it's not what we think about. Like if mom and we do talk about this in the maternal mental health realm about if mom's mental health is suffering, the family's mental health is going to
it's
suffer.
also
So
gonna,
if mom is supported and
yeah,
mom is feeling safe and mom is feeling seen,
yeah.
then right, the health
The
the
whole family is impacted,
the
right?
whole family is impacted. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um I've one thing that I have loved about this conversation so far is your analogies are all so wholesome. Like I have this like warm fuzzy feeling.
good,
Like
good,
we're talking about things that can be heavy but they don't feel heavy right now.
good.
Right? Like so you did experience things that were so hard. They were really hard and they were unfamiliar to you. Like a NICU journey, we almost glossed right over that, but like that in and of itself is a trauma, and that is something that will stay with you. And then to experience mental health struggles after that, that is
Yeah,
something that can stick with you. But throughout our conversation, you have tackled these heavy subjects with this growth mindset, right? While also sprinkling in I'm gonna say it again, these Hallmark-movie, analogies. So, I think it's important. A lot of my episodes can be really heavy and really hard, and I think those are super important, but I also think that new parents need to hear stories like this as well to know it's not always gonna be dark.
I
It's
know.
not
You
it's
are gonna
not
make it. It's okay.
Yes. It's not always going to be a horror movie. It may turn out to be the Christmas cookies and the snow falling and the kids around the Christmas tree,
Yeah,
like, you know what I
fine.
mean?
Yeah,
Um, you just have to get there, and it goes back to the can't thing. It's like, it's not that you can't get there. You
right.
will, you're just not there yet.
Yeah,
You're not
yet.
there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um So because I'm interested, talk to me a little bit about how these shifts have impacted what you're doing with your life now. What is your biggest joy that you are following right now?
Oh, I love that. What's your biggest joy? That's a beautiful question for any of us to be thinking about, right? Like, I think my biggest joy is that my children and other people who I'm able to impact, just like that friend did at 4 in the morning. No one has, well, very few people have called me at 4 in the morning. There's been a few, but no. I read a book called The Butterfly Effect, and that's what it's about. That someone did a little thing that created a huge impact later, and it literally was about a little baby that got rescued out of a burlap sack in the middle of the war. His parents were had died, and someone found the sack with the baby in it, and they raised the baby and created this whole different reality for him because of their kindness. And I see that. I see I think that's my biggest joy, that we don't even really realize the impact that we have, that 4 a.m. phone call that she had, probably she doesn't even think about that right now. But to me, it was like, that was what I
Yeah.
needed, right? And
Yeah.
I think we give that to each other when we support the mental health journey, the financial health, all the things that people are trying to figure out. How can I figure this out? And just giving ourselves that grace and giving other people that grace too. Like, my biggest joy is that people who are coming behind me in the journey, my kids and others, they're doing it better and faster than I did because of something I might have said or something they learned from other people around them. Nobody's an island. We all need each other. And I'm very, very grateful. We've moved now 15 times.
Woo!
And that in the last 30 years since we had our little one, and that was definitely not in the plan either, but it
Yeah.
created I don't know what I don't know about this. I need to figure out how to get that mortgage paid off faster, easier, because we're moving job changes and all the things that I didn't expect, and I'm grateful for that. So that's joyful too, right?
Yeah.
I think, we definitely have a choice. We can always choose to focus on all the mess, and we can also choose to focus on, wow, look at all those things that went right today. My husband said that in his early 20s, before he met me, someone asked him to do that. Let's just write down a gratitude list every day. Couple
Yeah.
things, couple things that actually we were just grateful for. It went better than we expected, or something. Someone was extra kind, or something great happened today. And just the process of writing that down for me right now, it's on my phone because everything's on my phone. It's a digital record, and I don't have to keep track of any papers or anything, but I can still have that gratitude. And I remember right in the middle, honestly, now that you've brought this up, my joy there at the time during the NICU journey and trying to adjust to being a new mom and all of that, I was feeling very sorry for myself. There wasn't a lot of gratitude, and I wasn't that I just we were in overwhelm and crazy. And an adult that I had trusted as a teenager in my church came over to give us a little baby present, and she said, your friend that was in that same group with you, she just found out that their little 4-year-old has juvenile diabetes. And this part of your NICU journey and the crazy and the mess that you feel right now, it is going to get better and it is going to go away. She's going to be fine. She'll figure out how to eat. She'll figure out how to grow and become a beautiful young person. But the diabetes is going to stay with your friend's little one for the rest of their life. They're going to still be working on that.
Mhm.
And in a way, it gave me a perspective shift, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna none of our mental health journey has to stay where it's at. We can always
Absolutely.
improve, and we can figure out new things and learn from what didn't work, so we stop doing the stuff that didn't work and do more of the things that are working, whatever that is for each person, right?
Yeah, and I love the gratitude list. It's very similar to something that I do, and I always recommend is I say look for the glimmers. And a glimmer is an opposite of a trigger. And the that is a practice that I do. So it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be triggered. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be triggered. There are going to be things that are hard, but if you are actively looking for the glimmers every day, it
Yeah.
doesn't negate the hard. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean you
I'm
can't
still know that it's
yeah,
there.
right. Still know it's there. It's okay to be angry sometimes. It's okay to be upset sometimes. Not living in it though. Looking for those little glimmers and being like, "Oh,
That's cool.
okay. That's cool. That happened. Everything else went wrong today.
But
Every
this is
other thing, but
fun.
this one thing
Yeah.
went right." One of my glimmers today is gonna be the warm feeling that I have talking to you, like, that just feels like comfort and joy, and so that's a glimmer for me for today.
Good.
Um, before I get to I always reach a point where I feel like it's the deep sigh, and then I know that I'm ready for my wrap-up question, but before I get there, you are offering resources and your knowledge to people to help make their lives a little bit easier in so many ways. If my listeners wanna learn more about what it is that you're doing, where is the best place to find you?
Anne at lifegiverlegacy.com. That's kind of long to remember. So
It's gonna
uh,
be in the show
the
notes.
other the other note is at annsplan.com. Just ANNS, annsplan.com. Because I feel like I just want to give people a recipe of things that are simple that they can incorporate without having to go take a whole nother school class and learn everything there. All of us have only so much brain space and time, I think, to learn new things and try things. But those are some of the financial tools that I've had available, and definitely happy to help with any of the other books and resources that have helped me with my mental health journey and things like that as well. So yeah, happy to help that way.
I love it. So those will be listed in the show notes. So listeners, please check the show notes.
Yeah.
I'm doing things a little different this season, and I'm asking my guests to do a little exercise with me. Not a physical exercise. Don't worry. Stay comfy in your chair. I'm asking us to go back before the days of cell phones and text messaging when everyone was easily available and reachable all the time. The days when if you called and they didn't answer, you had to leave a message.
Right.
So you don't know who my next guest is going to be. You don't know anything about them, but you've called into Quiet Connection today and they weren't here. So you've got to leave them a message. You got to leave a message on the voicemail. What message would you like to leave for my next guest?
Oh, you know, hope can be found in the most interesting places. Don't give up. Things are going to work out. And just because they haven't worked out yet doesn't mean that they won't. They will. And I'm giving this advice to myself as well, because sometimes I think we want instant quick, and sometimes it takes a little longer than instant quick, but it's still okay. And if you can find those glimmers in every day and the joy in the journey and be okay with where you're at, where you're heading, it's all going to be okay. I, w- I would want that for my younger self too. When I was in the overwhelm and I, this is not my warm cookies after school life.
Yeah.
I would have wanted someone to offer that to me. Just there's always hope. Don't give up, and things will work out. They do.
That is a beautiful message. It's going to be so fun for me to it's the part about this is that you have to listen to the episode before yours to get your message, but it's going to be really fun for me to sort of check in with you guys like down the road and be like, did you get your message? How did that resonate with you? But thank you for doing that little exercise with me. And thank you for sharing some time with me. It's not morning anymore for me here. I almost said this morning. It's lunchtime for me now. Um, but I appreciate you sharing your joy, sharing your story, sharing some of the things that worked for you. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. I think this is a beautiful place that people can find all kinds of help. So it's great.
Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing your warmth and your relatability with me today. If this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share the episode with someone who might need it. You can follow us on social media for daily connection and encouragement at Quiet Connection Podcast. If you'd like to share your story, visit quietconnectionpodcast.com or send me an email. Join us next time when another story is told and you realize you are not alone. I see you.